Welcome to the Prosper Project, the show that helps entrepreneurs build brands that impact the world and the bottom line. We know that success doesn't come in a one-size-fits-all package. That's why we're bringing you adaptable marketing strategies along with valuable insights from inspiring changemakers, firebrands, and visionaries. I'm Lorraine Sugart, founder of the disruptive brand agency Prosper for Purpose. Now for this week's episode. Today, I want to talk about the role of gratitude in business. Now, if your first thought was not another talk about gratitude, stay with me. I'm going to make it worth your while. A few weeks ago, I was in Savannah for a mastermind. I flew in early to spend time with my business thought partner of 9 years. I'll save the story of that relationship for a future podcast episode. But what is notable is that this was only the third time we'd been together in person. And since I was in Jen's hometown, I was able to meet her husband and their 2 dogs, as well as some of her extended family. I was so incredibly grateful to have that time with her, to see where she worked and lived, met who she loved, and just enjoy some downtime together in my favorite southern city. And I realized that I felt even closer to her, though none of our conversations had been especially personal or profound. Then during the 4-day mastermind, I had the opportunity to spend time with people that I'd only ever seen online. And while I'm so grateful to have an online business that enables me to work with clients across North America, I was so incredibly appreciative of the time spent in person. And at the end of each day, members of the mastermind were invited to share what they were taking away. And each time it was my turn to share, I referenced gratitude. I left the mastermind feeling that every connection I'd made, including the one with my thought partner of 9 years, was somehow now suddenly deeper. Not only because we'd been together, but because everyone I'd spent time with was also bubbling over with appreciation. The fact the time in person was rare made it special. And our gratitude for that just cracked us open. People in the room, attendees formed collaborations, made decisions to hire one another, and formed friendships. Now, I've always been considered an optimistic person, and I know that one of the sources of my optimism is awareness of what is good in my life. I've just been raised that way. My parents were always really focused on helping us appreciate all that we had and knowing that not everyone had the lives that we had. Not that we had money or fame or anything like that, but just appreciation for the family who loved us, the ability to do the things we wanted to do, just appreciation for where we live, the woods in the backyard, the friends, all of those things that are just part of our day-to-day life. But I've also had times in my life where I've struggled with gratitude. I went through a long and very difficult divorce. I've lost some of the most important people in my life, including close friends that I grew up with. I've had business setbacks. But each time, I've been able to get back on track by focusing not on what I lost, but what I had. And it turns out there's scientific evidence to support this connection between optimism and gratitude. A lot of scientific evidence, so I'm going to share just a few pieces. A few years ago, Harvard Medical School reported that multiple studies showing people who express gratitude are more optimistic and feel better about themselves. So actually boosts self-confidence. The Yale Center for Emotional Intelligence published a paper which concluded that expressing gratitude completes a feeling of connection with other people. So what this indicates is that when people do something that positively impacts us, we can build a deeper connection with them by expressing our gratitude. And this works whether it's someone you already know well or someone who perhaps spoke at an event you attended, but you didn't even get to meet. Neuroscientists agree. There was a study where a form of MRI scans were done on individuals who wrote gratitude letters. Those scans were compared to the MRI scans of people who did not write such letters. And the neuroscientists found that people who wrote gratitude letters had a better activation in the medial prefrontal cortex than those who did not write the letters. Now, the medial prefrontal cortex responds to things like drugs and alcohol. In other words, showing gratitude lights up those same areas of the brain as much or more than drinking alcohol or taking drugs. And I don't know about you, but I'd opt for gratitude here. So there's the science. Gratitude improves attitude. It deepens feelings of connection. So what does this mean for us in business? I'd say it means that it's important to take time to notice the good in the everyday, to really notice it, to reflect on it, to name it, and to share it. It sounds pretty simple, but it's not always easy to apply because, let's face it, we're usually focused on what is wrong, how far we are from a goal, how a member of our team may not be quite the good fit we thought they were when we hired them, how to get a client to finally pay on time. But I want to share how gratitude has worked for me in my business. And this is just one very recent, but also very symbolic example. A few months ago, I invited someone to be on my podcast who does work very similar to mine. I think she was a little surprised that I invited her. She was appreciative. I interviewed her, and then I thanked her so much for sharing her wisdom. We found that we actually do not do exactly the same thing, and the very following week, she referred a client to me. A week after that, she referred a second client to me. At this time, she has sent me 4 prospects, and 2 of them are already clients. I also know that gratitude is a muscle. It needs to be exercised regularly, or we can slide back into focusing on what is wrong rather than what is not right. So here's where the rubber meets the road. I'm recording this in the 4th quarter of the year. Everyone is promoting and selling like crazy. Every email in your inbox is suspect. So here's what you can do instead. Look back at your year and make a list. Include every client, every person who has sent business your way, every person who has impacted you from a stage, virtually or otherwise, every person who has hosted you in their Facebook group, on their stage or podcast. Send them a thank you card expressing your appreciation. Tell them why what they did matters to you. I promise you will light up your medial prefrontal cortex and feel really great. And when they receive the note, they will feel equally wonderful and your connection will deepen. If you panic at the thought of writing a thank you note, pick up the phone. Reach out and express gratitude. It doesn't have to be the perfect message. Gratitude is one of the greatest gifts you can give because you benefit just as much as the person you're expressing it to. So with that in mind, I want to end this episode by expressing my gratitude to each and every one of you listening today. And hey, if you're listening and you haven't yet left a review or shared this podcast with someone you know, please do that now. You'll help us reach more people with inspiration and practical strategies to grow their business. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Prosper Project. If you want to grow a peerless, profitable brand, please hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you find value in our show, please help us reach others by sharing an episode and leaving a review. In appreciation, please visit prosperforpurpose.com for more free resources to help you grow your business.